Hi everyone, welcome back to the Fetch Quest podcast where we talk about video games and more. Today I'm Guy Thomas and I am your host. With
Just
me.
take it from the start, dog. You got this.
Yeah, with me I have my fellow co-host Logan Brewer,
What's up, guys?
Hayden,
Yo.
and our first ever guest star. His tag is Mort, but he goes by Max. Here we have Max Morter.
Yo, what up? My name is Max. I'm a musical theater performer. I'm a Smash player. I play guitar. I do a lot of things, but I'm here today to talk about gaming and addiction, and in particular my experience with being called a gaming addict and like the things I've learned from that personal experience.
And we're happy to have you on here today.
Happy to be here, dude.
I know. What's crazy is that I know we were talking about this earlier, but you are our first guest star.
I'm so honored, genuinely.
You get the honor.
You get the honor.
you get the badge.
I get the challenge
Being our first
coin. Well, I guess
guest.
I'll get a challenge coin when I come back on the show, because then it's like
Exactly,
a
yeah.
second
Yeah.
appearance.
Well, I plan to. I actually want people to come back eventually. When we get to that point, of course. But it's
Yeah, hopefully they don't hate us by that point. So
yeah, exactly. But yeah, Max is secretly going to hate me in a year, and he's like, "Guy, I hate it when you spam back air too much with Joker and friendlies.
Yeah, we'll be playing online, and I'll get so annoyed with your AHA spam. I'll be like, I can't talk to you anymore, dog.
No,
Trust me,
you're
Max,
forgetting.
that
You're
is-
forgetting.
Oh my god.
It's not gonna be secretly hate you later. It's gonna the resentment's gonna bubble out
Oh
from
yeah,
the
it won't be a
secrecy.
secret.
Oh my god.
yeah, we all get salty when we're having to fight Guy and Smash is using Joker.
The Joker's, I will say though, Squirtle and Joker are a pretty fun matchup, and
Yeah.
oh yeah, I didn't talk about. I should talk about who I made in Smash. If I'm
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
I play Pokemon Trainer. Also play a little bit of Pikachu, picking him up for some sword matchups. But Pokemon Trainer's my main
Filthy
character.
ESAM simp.
No, there was a time when I started when I first got into Smash 4. I was a huge fan of his, and as he's fallen off, I've just been like, come on, what's the deal?
Yeah, I
He
know.
used to be so legit, and now
Yeah.
it's whatever.
I mean, then he beat MKLeo once, but then you hear nothing about him
Dude,
after.
yeah, no, for real. That period in Ultimate where it was like, oh man, he could be a top player again for the first time in years, and then
He just quit.
Radio
Yeah.
Silence. His content's still pretty good though. I like educational FGC content in general, like Ramola, Sajam, Lord Knight, and ESAM's I think is some of the best for Smash.
Oh, for sure. I think I don't think he's Sam, don't come at us, please.
No, it's okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
all respect to the egg, dude. Seriously, legend.
Yeah, but I like watching his content because it's just very informative.
And genuinely, I miss him as a player. I'd love him to be a top player again.
Yeah, actually watching him is pretty fun. I'm
He's
not even
so
gonna lie.
fast.
He's so fast.
Super inspiring.
Yeah,
But,
it'd be
Speak
really
still.
fun to see him.
But I think we
back.
should talk about today's topic. Today we're going to be covering a very sensitive subject. So if you're kind of wheezy about the content, we actually recommend you not watch this fully because we might be talking about some stuff that maybe will get people a little uncomfortable with gaming addiction. It's just mental health. So if that is not your thing, please go on to something else. We don't want to subjugate our audience to something that they do not want to listen to.
That said, we're not planning to go super dark places with it.
Yeah.
So if you want to listen a bit, dip your toes in your water, see if your thing is. Don't dip your toes in your water because that's for yours to drink later, and you don't want toes in that. But dip your toes in the general water.
What do you mean, man? That's what I want.
That's what you like. The
We
toe.
want toe water.
We want
Listen,
my toe fetish.
don't
in
put it in your
writing.
glass.
That's
Put it in
official.
don't put it in your glass. Put it in the pond.
Yeah, put it in the pond. Exactly, and the pond is full of thoughts about stuff. And so, if you find yourself getting uncomfortable, by all means, no judgment from us if you got to step out. But I think this is a pretty important topic to consider because of how often people do fearmonger around it and treat it like it's this end all, the world is going to fall apart. When really gaming addiction is a lot more complicated than that, and a really a new field that people don't understand very well.
For sure.
So
I mean, since
yeah.
gaming is relatively new, I mean, it's been around for a while, obviously, 40 years, 50.
Yeah, 50 years.
That
at
is
this
still
point,
a
yeah.
while,
Well,
but
and I mean,
compared to
people-
other mediums,
people treated it for so long like it was just this like it was a toy or whatever, right? And they didn't take any of its consequences seriously. And now that they've realized that there can be consequences, it's like the medical field has to catch up, which is also medical professionals are behind on a lot of things. We talk about mental illness and or neurodivergence, and it's a very much the ongoing,
especially in
developing
America.
fields. Yeah, 100%, dude, 100%. So at least my personal reference stuff here, though, does come from a medical professional. So even though I'm sharing my opinions, I know that I'm pulling this research from an accredited doctor. That's Dr. K. He's healthygamer.gg online or just healthygamergg on YouTube. His content is seriously, it's amazing. He doesn't just focus on gaming addiction. He talks about how we can build better life habits, better study skills, better self-respect and better social relationships. And I think for gamers in particular, his content is top-notch. So know that it's coming from there. We're going to put a link in the show notes to the playlist that in particular I referenced to guide.
Yeah, go check the description if you want to check that out, guys.
Definitely in the description, please. I mean, we're probably not by the time of this recording. We're probably not that big of like creators, but like we obviously like want people to also see other creators because like doing this kind of stuff, it's an art form, and I think it should be credited. So for sure, like in the description. But yeah, I mean, Max, you wanted to cover this topic, man, and I'm very glad you did because I think this is a really good like different from what we've covered so far because we've covered a lot of like specific gaming franchises as well as just like general things like we did an episode. Our first episode actually was on gaming systems.
Oh, like different consoles?
Yeah, consoles. Yeah. And then we did one on controllers. And so I think
is this your third episode?
No, actually.
No.
Where are we in the total
like
chronology
6.
then? 6.
This is either 5 or 6.
Man, because I was like, if you went consoles, controllers, addiction,
6,
that's a
checked.
funny like
consoles,
3-step.
controller, addiction. Yeah,
Bit of a jump.
that the triple C.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Funny. That'd be a funny step.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a very good change of pace. You had said that you had like personal experience with gaming addiction.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to?
Yeah,
explain
I
that?
can start there. So I think the first time I was told that I was addicted to video games was when I was like 8 or 9 years old. I was in elementary school for sure, and it was because my parents watched me go to like friends' houses and were like, "Well, you spend like a lot of your time playing games around people instead of talking to them," and like there's so many layers to why that's fucked up. The first of which just being that my family didn't, and man, I hope they're not listening. Maybe they are. They probably not.
Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? But they didn't, and in many ways still don't understand me. I didn't have a diagnosis for my ADHD, my depression, or my autism at that time, and I still only have diagnoses for 2 of those now. But I know what's real and in my life. And those things were impacting my body and my brain in ways that I really didn't understand, especially as a child, and they led to me seeking out certain experiences that my family would be like, why on earth is he doing this? Like, what is the deal? And because they didn't understand, they're like, well, the framing that society has given me is that a person who likes playing video games a lot must be addicted to them, which then carries all this baggage of like the term addict is so fucked up.
It is.
Because we associate that with like hard drugs or with like maybe gambling, serious subjects that
just
can have
negative.
Like, negative,
stuff.
exactly. Yeah. Physiological and psychological consequences in people's lives when gaming is a hobby.
Yeah. Or an
Well,
obsession.
I think too. Can I add something to that?
Of course. Yeah.
I think just gaming too, especially probably back when you were a child, the views it's had, like they've changed, but especially when they were first coming out, they were viewed. So they were like even called the devil's work at times, sort of like how rock music was for a while.
Or like Dungeons and Dragons
just because
back
people
in the 80s.
didn't understand it. You know, they're afraid of
You
what they
wanna-
don't understand.
You want to know what's crazy to think about how things have changed so much?
What?
So back when he was probably talking, like, you know, people would be like, "Don't sit too close to the TV; it's going to ruin your eyes." Now we literally have VR headsets.
That are,
Yeah,
use your eyes. Yeah, no,
Put-
and then
put
you're
the
totally right.
screen on eyes.
Neither of my parents are gamers, and actually had both had in their own lives like negative experiences of friends with games, like people in arcades and stuff that would which at the time I know we're going to talk later about like financial elements in gaming. Arcades would eat your money, right? So like that is a direct consequence of like, okay, well I can see your argument against gaming if it's someone sitting in an arcade just pouring quarter after quarter into this thing. Which was a big thing for my parents. They were like, you should be limited to 30 minutes a day. That was the major limit. And I think in many ways for me it created this like scarcity of a thing that I really liked, that I was like, well, I feel different. I feel like powerful and creative, and like I have agency, like I'm physically capable and adept. I started playing, I first started playing Smash Bros. When I was in elementary school. I played Super Smash Bros. 64 on the N64 as my first console, and then Melee, and on and on. And I was like, when I'm playing Smash Bros., I feel like how I think other people feel when they're playing sports. I was never an athletic kid growing up.
Same here, yeah.
And I do think athletics and exercise are a huge important part of people's lives. We can circle back around to that. But when there was clearly something in gaming that was meeting a need, and the fact that my parents were like, well, you can only have a tiny little bit of it, naturally created like well, if I have the opportunity to have more, I'm going to take that opportunity.
Exactly.
So
Yeah, just little trinkles. Of
Yeah,
it.
when you're getting just a drip, it's like any amount more than that feels so much better that it will naturally create a thing that a person from the outside, like my parents, might look at and go, that's not healthy, when the reality is like, no, there's probably a middle ground in between like giving your kid half an hour and letting them sit for 4 or 5. Like, and there's definitely a middle ground there, I think.
I mean, I think that goes for like almost everything in life. You know, a little bit, you don't need that, but you also don't want to go to the extremes. Just middle ground is safe for most things.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I definitely do get what you're saying too. With like, even as the athletic kid, like I still really loved games growing up.
Yeah, I think for
Like
me, in
after
particular, it was
baseball, I'd
like-
be playing Pokemon. And I'd be like, this is good. This is nice.
this makes
This is
baseball's
better
good. This
than
is a
getting
different
my
kind
ass
of
whooped.
good.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think like it's important to acknowledge that like games do impact your like neurology, like the way that your mind responds to games, it will get impacted in much the same way that a lot of substances, or not even substances, but like behaviors can. Like people get addicted to things like driving too fast on the road because nothing else feels like that, right?
Yeah, is that adrenaline?
Yeah, exactly. And so
Yeah.
there's a question of like, do you have a biological addiction to video games? Because if there is some element in your like neuroscience that needs support, that's a big deal. And that's something that Dr. K talks about. He says like the first way to tell if you have a problem with gaming, if you have a bad boundary, is if you can tell the gaming is a problem. Which is like, I know that sounds like circular logic, but it's not really when you think in terms of like your material life. Or is the act of playing games getting in the way of your homework, getting in the way of you going to your job, or seeing your friends or your family? And if that's the case, that's something to consider. You can tell when there's a lack in your life often, even if the lack is being filled by something as fun as video games, because you'll notice there's still a gap. You feel, I think most of us can feel it on. Do you guys know what I mean? Like you finish a gaming session, you've been playing for like 5 or 6 hours, and you go like, man, I did want to do my dishes today, and now I've forgotten.
I
Yeah.
completely get that.
Right?
Me when laundry.
Yeah, laundry's a big one, dude. The way that my life is like a clean bin of laundry that I slowly take clothes out of, and then at the end of the week, it's all dirty, and then I'm not putting the clothes away. They're
Yeah.
saying
They're just saying
they're
there.
out
Like
of the bin.
literally last time, I just left them out folded, like not in my
Yeah,
closet. Yeah.
The effort, because sometimes, and that's a huge, and this is not a diagnosis for you either by any means, but like that's a huge issue for people on the spectrum or with ADHD, because we don't get the same fulfillment from doing little executive function tasks like that other people do, and that's one of the reasons that people with this identity are so often gamers. Like so many of the people I know who are either competitive Smash players or just gamers in general, there's something that games serve that day-to-day life just doesn't. There's an escape, there's a satisfaction that I think is really important to acknowledge as like an important and actually beautiful thing if taken in moderation, like we're talking about.
Oh, for sure.
I think one of my best friends, I was talking to him a little earlier, and he was saying like a lot of times he would feel isolated in that way, but like games could help a lot.
Right,
And
yeah,
I was saying the same thing too. Games did help me like just mentally when like I kind of felt like I was just like not exactly in the group. Just kind of awkward.
That was my experience all through elementary, middle, and even high school. I felt isolated, and I never understood why. And I was like, why does it feel like even if I'm playing video games with a person, why is that social experience so different for me than just talking to a guy in my class? Or actually, I was always pretty okay in classes because of the structures. Because of the structure of a class, that's a big neurodivergent thing, is if you're in a space with some kind of social structure, it's easier for you to communicate with others, which is why I like podcasts so much. But
I wonder what we're doing right
Yeah,
now.
We're glad to have you.
But yeah, but then I would be in like a server playing TF2 in high school, and I have a dear friend who's now actually big on TikTok. His name is Panu. I don't remember what his TikTok ad is, but he does Overwatch 2 content that's dope. And I was like, how can I connect? Why is it so different? Why do I talk to Panu differently from anyone else I know in my high school? Why do I feel like better friends with this person? And I do think games can isolate us from everyday connection and face-to-face connection, which has a genuine, like, scientifically backed benefit for humans. Like, we benefit a lot, and we should be comfortable doing that. It shouldn't make us anxious. It shouldn't make us afraid. But the fact that it frequently does means that having a different option like gaming can actually fill that need, like we're talking about.
For sure.
So to go off what you were saying, I don't know if you remember this guy, but you remember how socially different I was talking to you in person when you first met me versus how I would talk to you on Xbox?
Xbox Live chat
Yes.
bring out the worst in us.
Yes, actually. Hey, like, okay, there was like a running joke in high school between me and Hayden. Kind of true, kind of not. That like Hayden was like the biggest psychopath I think I've ever met in my life. And
Okay.
We don't mention what we talked about in those Xbox parties.
That's like a universal truth. We have to understand there's a reason we weren't streaming back then. There's a reason we weren't recording things. Children are allowed to be children. I'll say
exactly,
it.
yeah. But
Yep.
but
Mistakes have to be made.
And truly, that's how you learn. It's how you grow.
But I completely understand because like
Yeah.
Hayden and I, we actually like. Hayden's one of my best friends.
We became friends because I overheard you talking about a game that I liked.
Monster Hunter.
Which is, it's amazing
Monster
how,
Hunter.
like, people talk so much about, like, games as an isolational thing, and that's, again, like, I want to be clear that a lot of, I think, the fear-mongering in the world around gaming addiction comes from, like, mainstream media sources and people who, again, don't understand video games very well because they're a new medium, and they often miss the beat that they can be such a social connector. Like
are.
the Smash community at Western, I see be huge for people who might otherwise be very lonely.
Everyone that I've
Yeah,
I don't
like in
remember
the
where I
previous-
heard someone talking about this, but I think my favorite analogy for this is back in the day you used to have the cul-de-sac, right?
Yeah.
Everyone would socialize and get around. Now the cul-de-sac has changed to an online thing, and that's where gaming comes in.
Yeah, stuff like Discords, that's very much like a cul-de-sac.
it is.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, like, I wouldn't be able to, like, talk with Guy and Hayden properly, or I wouldn't even have, like, a friendship with them if not for, like, the online sphere we have today.
Which makes me so
Because
makes me so
I met
happy.
them in, like, an online D&D group we
Yeah.
had, and I still keep connected to them because, like, we're all hours apart.
Yeah.
Like, if we would do the podcast in person, but yeah, it's just not feasible for
And
us.
isn't it great to be able to do it digitally too? My younger sibling had a similar thing happen. They're like their friendships with a lot of people over COVID when schools closed down were like, oh shoot, what if we just play D&D? What if we make a Discord? And then that like really I think saved some young people in a way because this is something else I want to talk about in the context of gaming is like the way that gaming is set apart from our everyday life, like our time spent working or our time spent in classes, the things we have to do to make it in the way the system currently works, which can be very like limiting on personal creativity, on personal expression, and also just discouraging in general, especially with like wages as low as they are, with the cost of living as high as it is, with generally like the social struggles around the world. Having escape is really important. And I've completely forgot where I was going with this now.
You're good, you're good.
You're good. You're good, man.
To build off what you were saying, I think also that like day-to-day life, you have choices, but you don't really get to feel like you choose that
That's
much.
what I'm
Versus
saying.
video games,
Free will
versus
is a
video
lie.
games, you get to like versus video games, you get to like actually choose whether you want to do this, do that
I can
specifically.
build a
That's part of
penis in
escapism,
Minecraft,
Yeah, that's actually
and I can enjoy it.
no shit, bro. I was actually about to bring that up.
Yeah.
Why? I mean, kind of off topic, but I do think Minecraft is not my favorite game of all time.
It's pretty good though.
I-
I think we can all acknowledge Minecraft is a good.
Yeah, it's a good game.
fundamental
It's a really good
I
game.
think it's the best game ever made.
Like structure-wise, I think it depends
Yeah.
on like where you go in the update system. Like if you go like, oh, I got a little blood, but like in terms of like, there's a modding community. There are so many active social connections through Minecraft, and as a creative outlet, holy cow, the things
I
people
know.
build in that game.
It's probably my sixth or eighth, my like seventh or eighth
I
like
was not
favorite.
expecting that specific of a number.
It actually
I-
told a
I
cool
thought about
story
this.
with it.
It's probably like my
Since
seventh. What's
yeah, you were mentioning earlier, Max, you have
Yeah.
like ADHD, right?
Yeah, ADHD and also again, no autism diagnosis, but like if you know, you know.
No, I was
we love
just
you.
gonna
Like that
say,
sometimes.
Yeah.
I've worked with like a lot of people that do have like really bad disabilities or even like blighter ones, just like the ADHD, like you said before. And I remember one of the coolest connections I made was like at a camp I volunteered with. I was with this kid, which I was having a really hard time getting through to him. Also considering I was watching two kids at once, so
It's
that
hard,
was just
dude.
lots
Oh,
of
and
fun.
like just in general, kids that are at those camps, it's so I was a YMCA counselor for a while. It's hard on them.
Oh yeah. But yeah, what I was gonna say is like for a lot of the week I was having a hard time communicating with him. Like I even remember just like a couple of times he was just like roasting the hell out of me.
Oh yeah, that's part of the job. That's part of the job.
And I was like, Jesus Christ, what is this
kid
man
hates
cooking?
me. Yeah.
What is this man cooking?
And
It's-
yeah, but you were saying
At the end of the week,
yeah.
the one thing I was able to connect with him on is he mentioned Minecraft
Yup.
and like some redstone stuff. So I started talking to him. I was like, oh yeah, I've seen a lot of the YouTube videos on that, and I think they're really cool, like Mumbo Jumbo, all that. And then that's when I finally had the kid open up to me, and
Yeah.
I had a solid conversation with him and
It's
an actual
again-
connection.
One of those framings of like, if you go to a kid and you go like, well, this kid spends all his time on Minecraft. He's watching videos about Minecraft. He's playing Minecraft. It makes him weird and different. Instead of going like, oh, that's finally this kid has something that truly invests him and he finds fulfillment in, and it's a way to connect. Like genuinely, it doesn't need to be the source of isolation. That so many
Yeah,
people
no, that's
do.
always what I liked on like information brochures I would get is like if there was something specific that the kid really liked, especially like maybe video game wise, like
Yup.
oh this kid loves Mario Kart, I'd be like, bet.
And I love
That's
seeing
me.
how like games come into
Sign me
real
up.
life. When I was working at the Y, there was like kids would recreate games. Like they'd call scooter board racing Mario Kart, or they'd be doing Fortnite dances in real life, and again, yeah, it's funny. No, it's like you watch, but
I know.
they're dancing, they're moving their bodies, and they're finding joy in movement, and that's like a beautiful thing, even if it comes from a digital space. And-
Yeah, I mean,
and
I know
do-
we can find
yeah.
Fortnite dances cringe, but we have to remember children are children.
I was
Children
gonna
are
say, you also need to remember most Fortnite dances come from
Yeah, from real. Yeah, right. So there's a layer of filtration there for sure.
Yeah.
Like the social dance, and you guys could do a whole episode on Fortnite culture vultures stealing and selling dances from actual creators.
Oh my god, true. That's like honestly, I think that's actually a really big reason why TikTok. I know they're completely off topic.
No, but I mean it's related.
But that's actually a really. I have a theory about this, and I haven't put much research into it. But this has been shower thoughts. Okay.
Yeah.
Fun fact: this entire podcast was actually a shower thought I had.
That makes most podcasts I think start as one, and then slowly become more and more real.
But
I was gonna say, Guy, I think most things are shower thoughts for you.
True.
Guys showering at all times.
that's when my IQ like goes up by like 3 times. Okay.
No, I just want to imagine like guys like, all right, guys, I have to study. He just goes into a shower.
Remember, heat makes things expand. So when you take hot showers, your brain gets bigger.
That's what I was gonna say. His brain's like a sponge soaking it up.
Oh my god, true. But I have a theory about this. Yeah. But I think TikTok got so popular, at least for like the like girls like recording themselves dancing part of it because it's something that not just everyone can do, but it's marketable.
It's that I think that is like there's a line that gets crossed because like dance accessibility is so beautiful, but then I've had my partner's into dance as a choreographer, and so they've shared stuff with me about how frustrating it'd be for creators to be like, well, my dance doesn't get seen because it's not marketable, right? So like it's one of those double-sided swords of a
double-edged swords,
double-edged. That's right. It's not sided. It's like
I understand what you're saying, but the term is double-edged sword. Man, you're good. Yeah.
Well, like another thing that feeds into TikTok's popularity is, didn't it used to be a different app?
Yeah, it was Musical.ly, right? Wasn't it before? Or
Musical.ly. Yeah, because as cringe as this was,
oh no,
when I was little, I did have a Musical.ly account.
That's right, you did. You're doing lip syncs. You're on there doing a little hot to the meat.
No, I did shitty little animations using like Videogame stuff.
That's awesome. Wait, hold on, because like that's another thing. I think about like machinima and early like video game animation and the way that again games as a creative outlet. Like I think so. One more thing I want to say about gaming addiction. I do think like one of the good examples of how it can become a problem is something Dr. K talks about in one of those videos is you can tell if it's getting in the way of your creative output. So, like, a lot of time we have ideas for, like, a script or a story, and we go to our recreational time in our day, and we go, I don't have the energy to write a story right now. I think I'll just play video games. And you're satisfied, and you play the video games for a while, and that's fine, and that's good. But if you notice that those ideas in your head are never coming into reality, that might be a sign that you have a slightly unhealthy relationship with gaming. Again, I want to be clear, I don't like the word gaming addiction at all. And the thing that I like about what Dr. K says, he says, like, is your gaming problematic or healthy? That is like that. Now, those are some great boundaries. Addiction calls up all these images that are so dark, whereas if you talk about, like, problematic, it's like, oh, well, that's just easy. Like am I canceling my gaming habit, or can it stay, right?
Exactly.
Like, is it getting in the way of, like, the things you need to do in life? Is it getting in the way of, like, you having a proper job, getting in the way of you doing your homework, whatever it is?
Yeah, and so like
I think that,
and I think about like, and so maybe games are in the way of your creative output, but by the same token, maybe the game is your creative outlet, right? There's something like Minecraft, something like Game Maker or Roblox. Ways that people are putting work out of the world. There's something that someone asked me a while ago. It was actually it was my interview I was trying to get into Yale when I was in high school. When I was in high school, I spent my whole like K through 12 being told I was a smart person and going like, well, that means I have to prove myself and I'll get into a good college and all these things. And I had to just like I ended up having a breakdown after my first round of college rejections came in because I was like, I guess I'm nothing. Like all this stuff that I built myself on. And I had an unhealthy self-concept that I've definitely like reworked a lot. And in many ways, games helped me restructure that. But I had a guy at my Yale interview. He said, "Are you creating or devouring?" It was like that was his two framings for not content, but like media. Like, are you thinking actively about something as a result of your engagement with media, or are you just sitting and letting it wash over you and not actually engaging?
Exactly. That is really interesting,
isn't it? Yeah. No, I think about it a lot.
Yeah. I've never like heard it like worded like that. Like, are you creating or devouring?
I think devouring is strong. I like creating or avoiding. So like, because devouring is like, okay, like I'm not eating a TV show, but
it's consuming without giving anything back.
Yes, and am I avoiding the thing I want to create because I'm afraid that it might not be good? Like, am I? That's something that Dr. K also talks about in the series, where he's saying like intelligent people also become very avoidant because we get told we're smart and we go, well, I have to prove that I'm smart by doing well at everything. If I'm smart, I'll do well at everything. If I do poorly at something, that means, oh fuck, maybe I'm not smart. Like, sorry for the language.
I
wanna
mean,
take it
hold
back?
up. We are at 24 minutes and something seconds.
We safe?
Yeah.
This would
you're good.
would not make
It's
sense
only for
in
the
post.
5-minute thing.
Let's go.
This would
Oh
not
yeah,
make
because
sense.
that's how they have it set up now.
If this would not make sense if we cut out some of these parts for editing, but that's okay. Susan can't get me,
Thanks,
so
Susan.
we're good.
We just want to
Thanks,
appreciate you. Give us
Susan.
jobs someday, please.
Actually, wait, she's not CEO anymore.
Oh, that's right. It's some new. I don't
Whatever
wanna,
guy it is.
I'm still gonna say Susan though. All respect to the
Yeah.
queen. But yeah, what was I saying? I lost it.
I'm sorry.
No, it's all good,
Yeah.
dog. It's all good.
Yeah.
Totally gone. Brain
Oh,
fart.
no,
No, it's okay.
I'm
No. Oh yeah. We were talking about avoidance. Yeah. So I'm a tutor. I tutor music students, and I know a lot of them are so invested in like putting out the best work they possibly can that sometimes that gets in the way of actually just making a thing. And games can be that same way. So if you're finding that maybe your personal engagement with games is getting in the way of anything, that's always a good sign that you could reevaluate. You don't need to label yourself. You don't need to call yourself stupid or weak. But there might be some strategies you could learn that would better help you develop a healthier relationship with games. And Dr. K's resources on his channel are like perfect for that. I think that pretty much covers my thoughts on gaming addiction. I just want to say don't call people out if they're not.
To go back a little bit, something I don't remember who told me this or where I heard it, but something I like to remember is I'm trying to remember who even told me this. Anyway, so the whole thing is smart people aren't smart because they did stuff. It's because they failed enough times to overcome it.
Yeah, that's something.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that before.
Like the thing that
Yeah.
people don't value. I know smart people who do all kinds of things in their life, right? Like a smart person could be a doctor. A smart person could also be a janitor, right? Like it's whether it's the choices you make, and also like there are people like there are limits placed on us in so many ways by our lives, but oftentimes it's not our intelligence that's the limits. It's like economic factors, or it's like where you were born.
Plus a lot of things that people, a major thing people don't consider is, are they happy doing it? Because you can be smart, but you can be smart, but you can also be happy doing other things.
Which is one of those things that I think gaming like fills in a breach because so much. I mean, like I don't know anyone really, except for maybe people who play like League, and you guys can help me with it. Maybe there are other ones. People who are like, that's my main
League of
game,
Legends.
and it makes me miserable. Like most people, their main game brings them joy, even if they're doing poorly in it. And if it doesn't, that's a good like maybe the game is not so great for you, right? Like maybe you can reevaluate. But your game should bring you joy. Sorry, that was probably pretty loud.
You're good.
But I know that's a trick I remember. I used to edit a podcast. Oh yeah, also, if you guys want to look at a podcast I edited, I was on one episode of it. It's called Cosmic Coffee Shop. It's on Spotify. My partner and our friend Cody recorded it back in the day. They talk about like religious concepts and like life skills and stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
Can we get to the? I want to answer the question.
We
Oh
should go
god,
first.
yeah. Okay. So, we've talked about some gaming addiction and about a lot about it, but there's a little thing that I decided that I think we should do for our guest when we have them on, and there are 3 specific questions. We will start with the first one. Max, tell us your top 5 favorite games and give us like a small little description of why.
Okay. So, no order. I can't order them. Don't have
That's
to order
fine.
them.
That's fine.
Getting even 5 was like brutal. So there's a mix of multiplayer games and but this really does get into like the exact. I think these 5 games like collectively describe all the different reasons I love video games. So first one is Cave Story by Pixel. I think Cave Story is like a masterpiece. It's like if you made a Studio Ghibli film into a video game. Just like a beautiful story. The gameplay is really fun to engage with. It's a great subversion of usual run and gun tropes in games like Metroid. And I truly think it's a masterpiece. You can get the original game translated in English for free off his website, which is another thing. Also, like, the guy made the music all himself, and the music is amazing. So you can find that on Steam, and it's easy, but also, like, play the original if you can. It's truly... That's like that was a life-changing game for me. Next one,
Yeah.
Team
No,
Fortress.
honestly, Max, I'm gonna agree with you on that.
You
Go
played
to
it?
taste because I have played that one before and I have it on Switch.
Dog, it's so... And, like, that's one that I played... I still remember so clearly the first time that I beat the final ending, because there's, like, a final ending. There's a whole quest you have to go on that's so cool. Which is, like, who puts a quest in a little run-and-gun game that's, like, based off of a specific jump that you can barely make, and you only notice that jump if you play the game correctly? It's brilliant.
Yeah.
And, then... you get to the. I remember I was in a production of Les Miserables. I was in the ensemble, and I was downstairs at my favorite community theater back home on my DSi, which was the first game that I beat Cave Story on, and it broke my bumpers because you change weapons with the bumpers, and and those bumpers are bad. Anyways, I want to talk about. I know you guys did your game control episodes. The DSi triggers.
I mean, I talked about it
L.
in Monster Hunter too. I destroyed the L button on like my 3DS because that's what I use for like
Exactly.
the items and the camera all the time.
Oh my god.
So I remember so clearly beating that final boss and like the euphoric euphoria and the like. That is like a clear core memory in my life. Number 2 is Team Fortress 2. I know there are people who played more than this, but for me it was a big deal to have it be the first game I ever put 1,000 hours into.
Holy shit!
Yeah,
Really?
that was in
You
high
put
school.
1,000 hours?
Yeah, it was also the first game I ever played competitively. I didn't not professionally or anything, but
Yeah.
as an amateur competitor, it kind of changed my life in terms of I played soccer all through middle school. I played 10 years of soccer from 5 to 15. But again, I never felt filled athletically, even though I liked game sense a lot. I've always been the kind of person who looking at the whole field of movement and go oh, I was never super dexterous, but I would predict where to pass the ball correctly to be oh, there's an opening and baiting people and stuff. And so anyways, but when I played Team Fortress 2 competitively, and I played Demo Man and Soldier just for what it's worth, I love rocket jumping. I still think it's one of the coolest things anyone's ever put in a video game. And air shots, when you're rocket jump fighting someone and you read their movement and in a 3D space are able to hit them with your projectile, holy, what a rush. What a rush. You guys know Streets 112?
I don't.
Oh,
I do
that's
not.
required reading. We'll put a link in the description.
Required
Streets 112. Streets 112 is a
Required reading.
masterpiece video.
For Fetch Quest, occasional viewers, you have some homework before the next episode.
Yeah, so I played a lot of TF2 in high school. I also made my first digital connections to people through that game. I made a connection with a team. Another core memory, I played a lot in lobbies, which are kind of like pickup games for TF2, so competitive, but you're playing with people you've never played with before. And I had someone say to me in one of those lobbies, I've never met someone with this positive of a presence online. And that, I think changed my life in a lot of ways. I was oh, this is an energy I want to continue to put out, and I think it really changed my perspective on how I want to participate in gaming communities in particular. Because we don't get to be in our gaming communities, whatever they are, whether they're digital or in person, our Smash tournaments, all the time, and so we don't get to behave like we'd like to all the time. But when you get to have those moments of kind of a utopia of what if my life could be all Smash tournaments? What if my life could be all these things? Then why not bring the most positive energy you can? And I really believe in that. And that's down the line, I'd really like to become a YouTube streamer. It's been a dream of mine since I was really young.
Yeah.
Oh shit! I meant to bring this up earlier.
What's up?
To do with the gaming addiction thing. So I had a neighbor. This is the one important thing for me. This is a reason I think it's so important not to use addiction like a pejorative term, especially for children whose neurochemicals are so confusing and who are learning how to understand video game stuff.
They don't know what the fuck is going on.
What's going on, right? So don't label them
Dude,
with an
children
adult's
don't know
term.
any. They don't know anything.
That's okay that we don't know things, right? It's okay to experiment and to learn and find the things that bring you joy. So I had a neighbor who had learned that my parents called me a gaming addict, and then that became a thing he bullied me over constantly. Even though he had his own unhealthy connections to gaming, he bullied me about it, and I was making YouTube content for the first time in high school. Again, my friend, I mentioned Panu earlier. We done some YouTube videos. I was making some of my own YouTube content, and he found that content, and he started telling people at my high school that I was doing it. I deleted all those videos, and until the day I die, it will be one of my biggest regrets that I didn't just put them on unlisted,
man,
put them on
sucks.
private, because I lost a slice of my life, this person that I wanted to be, a genuine dream.
Yeah.
And I've gone through the Wayback Machine and everything. I went to archive.org. I was maybe I can find the files. They're gone, and that's okay.
I'm so
but isn't that sad?
sorry.
Isn't that
Sorry
sad?
to hear
That's,
that.
that's why you
No.
gotta be careful with terms like that, because kids will write their own brain and they'll go well, I'm an addict. I'm a failure. I'm not
well,
smart.
especially in
I'm
high
not
school
control."
too. On the creative end,
Yeah.
people are really afraid to show stuff.
That's
it
what I'm
can be
saying.
hard to work up the courage to show your art to someone, show video you made to someone.
And so yeah,
Do a class presentation. So I
Down
can
the
kind of
line-
see where that fear would be coming from.
down the line, I'd like to try to return to that mindset and make content either live. I want to live stream. I want to make video content, and I want to put out that same positivity, because I think we have a lot of control in gaming spaces in particular to do that. So next game, Smash Bros. Ultimate. That's an easy one.
Yeah,
I didn't play.
Goated.
I know
Goated,
Guy
goated.
thinks it's the best fighting game of all time. I don't know if I agree on that
Okay.
point, but also it's my
Yeah.
favorite fighting game of all time. So that's
Yeah. If I may interject on that,
Please.
it's my favorite, and I think it's the best because I feel like anyone can really pick it up.
that is the beauty of Ultimate.
Yeah.
100%.
And I feel like it's because it's design choice by no matter what the skill level, you're gonna have fun.
And I would love to have. That's actually we could do a whole episode on Smash Bros. I'm sure you all have.
We
enough
have a
experience with
fighting
it.
game episode that
We have a fighting game episode
does a
that
good
talked about
portion
it.
of Smash, but it would be awesome to just dedicate why Smash.
And yeah, we could talk in particular, right? The community of it. Anyways, so yeah, I've played every Smash. Again, Smash 64 was one of my very first video games I ever played. The 64 is an amazing console. Also love Mario 64. It's not on my list, but it's a great game. And then Ultimate, just none of them have ever felt like Ultimate. So many characters control just the way you want them to, and you can express. I love self-expression in games. I know you wanted to ask about the why. That's big for me. Movement and self-expression, because so much of my life I felt like closed off from being my true self, and also that I couldn't move through physical space the way I wanted to. I have scoliosis, and it really limited me as an athlete until I started treating it correctly with my own athletic stuff.
You have scoliosis?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
It's cringe.
Huh.
It's pretty cringe.
It's pretty
Yeah,
cringe.
that's pretty cringe.
I still deal with those consequences, but since I'm in better shape than I've ever been and always like improving as an athlete, I'm better in control of my own body, which is a whole other thing. Like the way that games interacted with my pursuits athletically has been huge for me. But yeah, Smash Bros. So so expressive. Ultimate is like, it's so satisfying. So that's Ultimate, easy. Next one is Lisa the Painful. Have you guys heard of this game?
Oh, Lisa.
Yeah, you know the tone.
I
Oh,
think-
yeah, I've seen Lisa.
I want to go on the record. It's
I
very
know
dark.
Lisa.
It's dark. It's sad. It's not like a
Yeah,
fun
guy
time.
would probably like it.
I think
because
I think you
after
would.
you heard
Okay,
said dark.
okay, like I was just thinking about this. Dude, Berserker's my favorite thing ever.
It's Berserk pilled for sure.
Holy crap. Like, yeah.
Yeah,
like-
anything guy likes is just dark.
Lisa's really really beautiful. It's like a post-apocalyptic story, and what I like is that it subverts like hero archetypes in a lot of stories. You could see it like as Last of Us situation where it's like, oh, there's this girl and her father figure is going to save her, and then as the story goes on, you're like, oh, he's though you are playing as the father figure.
He's kind of a shitbag.
Yeah, you start realizing like, oh no, and you also there's like this great exploration of trauma. I think Lisa the Painful is like a true like art game, and I love that it's in conversation with games like Undertale or Earthbound, which are two games I also really enjoy, to make role playing something that you really. I love D&D and other pen and paper role playing games because they let you play a character, but in a lot of RPGs like video game RPGs, you're kind of actually limited. You follow the path of the character, and sometimes I find that like I don't relate to the character that much. But when they make me feel something like that, like I did in Lisa, I'm like, oh, this is I get how these games are supposed to feel
Yeah.
for people.
Well, I think it's experiencing the character because I think that's why there's like so many silent protagonists in
Yep.
like JRPGs. They want you to like imagine yourself, but I like seeing just like non-silent protagonist more because I get to see this character, I get to see their experiences,
I agree with you, man. I
their
don't always
life
want.
points, their views.
I don't want
Yeah,
all
'cause-
the control over the character. I don't want all of that control.
Listen, there's two things that people like: either playing as how you would play it, or playing it as like through the eyes of another person, because you don't get to experience stuff like that on the daily.
And then my
Yeah.
last game is The Binding of Isaac. It's a roguelike. I've played
Let's go,
every
baby!
iteration. Game is
Binding
a
of Isaac, let's go!
masterpiece. I definitely have 1,000 hours combined across all the different releases of it. I love roguelikes. They get into the part of my brain that's like, I just want to go, and if I fail, I fail. I want to win on skill alone. This is a sidebar.
Oh, dude,
if you
if
guys
you
ever
like
wanna-
roguelikes, you should play Enter the Gungeon when you get a
I
chance.
love oh no,
Yes.
listen, I love Gungeon. Haven't beat it yet. I've got to the final section after the boss a couple times. If you guys ever want to do a roguelite episode, I'd love to come on that because I have strong opinions. I love Hades, but I have some beef with Hades.
You have beef with Hades?
Oh yeah, dog.
Dude, that's my favorite roguelike.
I think Hades is a masterpiece in a lot of ways. I want to be
Yes.
clear, but
Yeah.
it has some of the tropes of roguelites that I go like, I should feel like I can win on the first game. If I get to a boss and I go like, oh, I can tell I need one of the upgrades that carries over between runs, that bugs me so much. I want to feel. Whereas
that's
Binding
fair.
of Isaac, you beat Mom the
Fair,
first time, you go,
fair.
I win the game, and then Edmund McMillan goes, no, there's more game, bud, and you go,
Yeah.
oh, there's more game.
Oh my god.
It's so good. Yeah, so those are my takes.
All right, we have two more questions.
Cool.
Gotta make it.
Yep, already. I'm gonna go with max
all right.
speed.
Why do you play video games?
Number one thing is self-expression, like I said earlier. Number two thing is the way controllers allow me to express my thought in a different way than I would with like my physical body or my words. And yeah, that's pretty much it. It also makes brain go burr. You know, like there's some simple kind of like primal
Brain goes
elements.
burr.
Brain
The
go burr.
best
That's fair.
the best way is it scratches the itch.
Like there's nothing else like as an interactive. And I'm also like I'm a theater performer, right? So like games as theater mean a lot to me. I think we can learn a lot about ourselves through playing games, and that's big for me as well.
And I have one more question
Last
for
one.
you. If you were to replay a video game for the first time, what would it be?
I think I was thinking about this already, and I was going to pick one of my 5, and I actually think it's off the list. I think if I could go through Mario 64 again and be jumping through those paintings and going like, oh my god, this is the world. Because now I know them like the back of my hand. I've thought about getting a 16 star yet. I haven't, but that's on the brain. I want to be able to BLJ. I want to learn that. And so I know the levels like the back of my hand, but like. When I was a child, when I was literally like 5 or 6 years old, never held a controller before, and someone goes, I'm like, I can't even get Mario into the castle at first, and then I jump through that first pindy and go, oh my god, there's a whole other world here. I wish I could experience that again.
No, that's fair.
But I'm glad that I got to experience it in the first
Fair.
place, and I know I will. Like, I'll be sharing that with nephews, and if I have kids down the line, like that, I'll be showing them the same thing, and I'll get to
that's
see it through
awesome.
their eyes.
Yeah, I think that is a good stopping point for the episode.
I wish it could have gotten a little longer, but I do know we have.
Yeah, we kind of have to go.
today.
We got to go in like the next
We're
5
known as
minutes.
the rebels of podcasting. They don't respect us enough here.
They really
We're like
don't.
Desperados.
But I want to give a huge shout out to my friend Max for coming out and guest starring or being our first podcast. I love this guy so much. I've known him for the past few months. We've been playing Smash. We've
It's
been
crazy
going
that
on road
we've only
trips.
known each other for as little as we have, because I feel like we're so close.
Dude, we're so close. And that's
Wow.
the difference, dude.
Yeah.
It's so weird. God, and I hate that you're a senior too, dude.
I don't want to talk. I love that I'm a senior. I'm ready to be out, but also like I hate that it took me this long to get into with Smash. Like if I could have had this sooner.
God. Oh
Can I
man.
do some plugs? Or do we
Oh
have
yeah,
to do
go,
a little-
go, go,
Okay,
go,
quick
go,
ones.
go.
So I'm at Hart Theater in Waynesville, North Carolina this summer for the production of Big Fish. I'm in a big part of the show. If you come, you will get to see me. And the tickets are pretty cheap, especially if you're a student at any of the universities around here. Great show, great theater. Hope you can come see it. We started in mid-May, and then yeah, that's it. That's my main one. And then my Twitter. Yeah, my Twitter again is It's Only Mort on Twitter. And hey, it's Mort on YouTube.
I think that's it. Brewer,
right.
Hayden, do you have any closing thoughts?
Well, I mean, there's definitely a lot more I wanted to talk about on addiction, but I think we did a pretty good job of talking about it
Yeah.
today.
Well, my closing thought, which we kind of touched on but never really like specifically specified, is I think the problem with addiction is it's less about how much time you're spending versus what priorities you are pushing back.
There's a difference
To do
between
these
obsession and addiction.
And
Yeah,
make sure
well,
that-
I think
make sure-
also one last
yeah.
thing I like to add is like what caused the addiction in the first place, because usually it isn't just like that specific thing, like the drugs, alcohol, and what we're talking about, games. They're not initially what caused it. Is like what outside of your life is what caused that addiction.
Yeah. And can you find a healthy way to get that same outlet? Because it is important to acknowledge our body's needs. You really got to respect those.
For sure. But
Yeah.
with that being said, I think that if for our listeners, I think we may have been talking about addiction, but I think you should get addicted to liking this episode.
You better press that
and
button.
you better press and get addicted to subscribing to Fetch Quest.
Leaving comments.
And you better
comments give me such
a comment about how you're addicted to subscribing to Fetch Quest
Please. If
But,
you
and Smarties. I mean,
If you have experiences where you want to talk about that, like post it in the comments. Share your experiences with like any stuff like this.
For sure. And with that being said, again, another thanks to Max to being our first guest star here on our
yeah, thanks for
podcast.
coming in today, Max.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yep.
Yeah. But with that being said, I think that is the end of our episode about gaming addiction. Again, like Max said, if you have anything that you want to add in the comments to add to the conversation, please do. We love talking about this stuff. We're not doing a podcast for nothing. But seriously, with that being said, thank you guys so much. Please give us like, subscribe, share this with other people, comment down below. But of course, with that being said, thank you very much. Fetch Quest out.
See you guys.